I'm professor of vocal music here at Cosumnes River College, and we want to welcome you to our ongoing weekly series, CRC Music in the Studio. And this week we welcome two people who I'm proud to call friends of mine, Capital Public Radio music hosts Jennifer Reason and Kevin Doherty. We'll have a really awesome conversation about diverse careers in music. And so I'm super thrilled to have them, and we're going to keep it casual, but we've got lots of really, I'm sure, important insight for our students and the community at large. I'm also joined today by two panelists, two of my colleagues here at CRC in the radio, television, and film department. I'm so glad to spend this session with Professor Mun Kang and Professor Lauren Wagner, who is also chair of that department. Welcome, panelists. How are you, and what do you do? Before we welcome our special guest, tell us a little bit about what you do and what you teach here at CRC.
Hello, I am Professor Lauren Wagner, and within radio, TV, and film production, I'm the TVF part of the department. So I teach the TV production classes and the film production classes, and I'm also the department chair. So if any of you are interested in hearing more about our department, when you go online, it gives you my email address. So anyone who's interested in hearing more about that, I'd be happy to talk about it.
Super awesome. And also we have Mun Kang. Tell us, Mun, who are you? What do you do?
So I am the other part of the radio, TV, film. I teach all the radio classes here, radio audio classes, and also the radio audio podcasts, and also digital media classes here at Cosumnes River College.
Super awesome. Well, that obviously dovetails into our guests, right? And why we're here. And our main guest today is Kevin Doherty. I say main, and because I'll explain what's going on there in just a second. But here Kevin is in all his glory, working with the microphone at the radio station. A quote about him as a performer: "Is a wonderful actor, strong both vocally and dramatically." Kevin is host of Morning Classical at Capital Public Radio here in Sacramento, and a baritone who's performed numerous roles from Bohème to Barber. He says he performs everything from concerts to karaoke, and maybe we will get a chance to hear some more of that later on today. He's also co-founding our administrative director of Rogue Music Project, a new company dedicated to opera and classical music on the fringe. You'll see him and our other guest, Jennifer Reason, there to the far left, looking rather cool, marching across the rooftops of Sacramento. And you'll see them here as well, having a lot of fun. That's him on the floor in Tool, Jennifer there up on the right as well. And this is all with Rogue Music Project. And there he is, looking rather menacing, earlier this year in a world premiere opera called Bones of Girls.
Look at that beard.
Welcome. A mean beard. Welcome, Kevin Doherty. So welcome. What else should we know about you? You do an awful lot of wonderful things. So tell us, who are you?
Well, you really captured it, Omari, as you so often do. I am Kevin Doherty, and I do a lot of things. I think more than anything, I love music. I'm a music lover, and I love to be a part of the culture, and I love to be in the middle of it. And so, I got my start singing, and then one day radio just sort of crept up on me, and I started hosting a shift on the weekends in Knoxville, Tennessee, and suddenly radio just kind of started to become the thing. We can talk more, but yeah, we'll get into
very interesting
details.
We do want to get into that sort of how that all came to be. Part of the conversation today is about careers in music, and I was talking to the faculty, the music faculty, just last week about so much going on. We pay attention to all of the world's happenings in politics and in art and the nexus of those things. And there was a wonderful panel with Karen Slack. You know, she was here, and I think you know her. Do you know her, or you cross paths with her? I can't recall.
Yeah, we've crossed paths. I don't know her, but I know of her. Yep.
And she was having a conversation with Afton Battle, who
Mhm.
you do know. You went to
Yes.
school with Afton Battle, and Afton is now the artistic director at Fort Worth Opera. Super exciting and amazing.
What a singer Afton is too, which is
Oh my
incredible
goodness.
about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. She is a huge dramatic soprano.
Mhm.
Speaking of Wagner, Lauren Wagner, yeah. She does that kind of stuff, right? And they were having a wonderful conversation about careers in music and about preparation for becoming someone like an artistic director at an opera company, and development and administration. And you're doing business administration for a Rogue Music Project. You're also doing this radio work. But did you train in that?
No, I didn't train in that. I mean, I'm a vocal performance major from day one. As a matter of fact, I was even a performance and education major, and I learned quickly that I did not want to teach. Listen, teachers, you are heroes. You are heroes in the world, and everybody out there who's paying attention, pay attention to your teachers. They will steer you in the right direction. I couldn't do it. It wasn't for me. It wasn't a thing that I had the makeup for. And so I dropped my education degree, and I had family members who said, why would you do that? You need something to fall back on. And I was like, I will figure it out. I'm not trying to lead anybody astray. There's more to that story. We can get to it, but
and figure it out you did, though. Yeah, right.
Truly.
That's I think that's kind of what I'm hoping the moral of the story today will be.
Yeah.
But really fascinating. I want to introduce our other guest by letting her introduce herself. Jennifer Reason could not be with us today because she is also at Capitol Public Radio, and it's that fund drive time. Is that right? And so she actually got called away and had to be there. But she did have time to prepare a little bit of a few excerpts and videos for us to talk to our community. So I wanted to switch back over to my fancy screen here and have her talk a little bit about the same sort of subject. So you've seen her in the other photographs with Kevin and myself as part of Rogue Music Project. But here, Jennifer Reason is talking a little bit about what she does.
Hey everyone, I'm Jennifer Reason. I wish I could be with you for the live stream that's happening, but as you can see, I'm live elsewhere right now. I'm on air with Cap Radio, so sending you videos from afar. And I'm so glad to be talking with you today about careers in music, because the options really are endless and they're up to you. So we're all hoping you'll really get something out of this conversation today. So to kick off that topic, I'll just tell you what I do to make my career in music here in Sacramento. Started out at Sac State as a piano major. I got my degree in piano performance. It's a BM under Richard Chianco, who's amazing. And since then, I've gone on to do a lot of different things. Of course, I gig. Of course, I perform, right? Theaters, shows, the hired gun life. But also, there's a lot more. I'm artistic director of RSVP, which is an a cappella ensemble, and we sing to raise money for local charities in the area. We donate 100%, record about an album a year. It's fun stuff. I'm the music director of Rogue Music Project, which I will allow Kevin and Omari to tell you all about more soon. I'm a founding member and pianist of City Water, which is a local sextet, totally instrumental, and we exist to commission new works from living composers. So keep our American heritage alive and going, and modern music being supported and moving forward. And we are currently ensemble in residence at Sac State. We've got a mashup band that does opera arias and classical music and jazz and show tunes, and we make our own arrangements and mash them all together. That's the fun pet project. I'm music director at Congregation Beth Shalom in Carmichael. taught for a long time at a 4-year private university. Now I just teach privately so that I can be live on air, as you see, which I am right now for Cap Radio. I'm the midday classical host, Monday through Friday. I get to talk about music all day and introduce people to the great gems in the canon and the new gems that they haven't even heard yet. So that's fun. And yeah, that's about it. So you can do this too. So let's kick off from there.
Everything, right? She is rather busy. I just kept thinking,
Yeah.
my goodness, she has another thing that she's doing. But that's kind of how why we wanted to put this together and sort of have this conversation about making a career. And while this is part of CRC Music in the studio, Lauren and Mun are here as representatives from an area that are also, that this overlaps with you. So if you wanted to tell us a little bit more about the things that you do, Kevin, you're welcome to, because I know that I mean, when we go to see shows at Mondavi, I have read some of your work in the program and the playbill. So, you know, how does that come about? How do you get from this performer and studying that to being in so many places, you and Jen?
Well, you know, I think if you'll permit me, I think I'm just going to kind of start from the beginning here and how the performance career came about, because I think it has a lot to do with how we sort of get kind of, I don't want to say pigeonholed, but sometimes when you're following a music career, it can either be somebody's telling you, you have to do these things, follow this trajectory, or don't succeed. Or you just kind of don't know where to go and what to do. And you have to kind of know where to find the things. I started singing when I was a little kid. I always loved to sing around the house. I love to like bounce around. And, I think my mom may have said, you can't really carry a tune if it had a handle on it, right? But I was a little kid. I didn't know any better, and that didn't really stop me. I was youngest of 6 kids, and I was loud, and I just wanted to sing and be noticed. But I grew up. I didn't grow up in a musical family. I grew up in a family of wrestlers and athletes. My sister was a state champion soccer player. My brothers were county champion wrestlers, and so but I just always loved to sing. That was a thing that I did. And then one of my county champion wrestling brothers got married. I was maybe 13 years old, and he had recorded a piece that he sang to dance with my mother at their wedding. And it was a moment for me that was the most surreal I think I've ever had. People were crying in the room. They were like, everybody was like, oh, this beautiful moment. He had a beautiful voice. I had zero idea that this guy could sing. I mean, he's 14 years older than me. What was he, 27? I was 13. No idea that he could sing. And I thought to myself, that was the minute that said to me, this is what I want to do. I want to make people cry like that. It was definitely crying. It wasn't, I didn't get to laughing yet. Later I got to that. It was fine. Yeah. And I sort of started to pursue the career again. I was never really very good. I couldn't really sing in tune. I struggled with it. It was kind of crazy. And I was in choir, and I was in 9th grade. And my choir teacher told me this my senior year of high school, because it never came to pass, but he was ready. He was going to kick me out of choir. He had spoken to, I don't know if I've told you the story, Omari, but he had spoken.
Yes, I think I remember some of this. I mean, it's coming back to me, but it's fascinating. Okay. I love it.
He had gone to my guidance counselor, and he was ready. He was ready to, make it happen. And then I had taken some time. My mother passed away from cancer when I was 14 years old. And another thing, well, I'll get to it in a minute. And I had taken time off from school and finally looked at my dad. I think it was like, I don't know, it was like a Thursday or Friday. I guess the day doesn't really matter. But I was home for about a week and a half. And I looked at my dad and I said, Dad, I have to go back to school. I just have to get out of this house. I have to go take my mind off things. That day I had a bass sectional in choir. Mind you, he hadn't kicked me out of choir yet. My mother just passed away. It was very kind of him to let me hang around for an extra minute. But he distinctly said to me when I was a senior in high school, he said, I don't know what happened that day, but you came back to school after your mother passed away and you came to your bass sectional and you started singing the right notes. He was like, out of nowhere. It was the strangest thing. He was like, I started to hear some semblance of a voice, and he was like, I'm going to give it a minute and see where we go. As the year had gone on, I started to sing more and more and more. I got better and better and better very quickly. This was just a sort of lucky thing that was happening. By 10th grade, I'd made my high school chamber singers, which was the premier group. I was going all county choir. By 11th grade, I was in all state choir and all Eastern. And same thing in my senior year of high school. I was the lead in the musical, the whole nine, right? Like all of a sudden it started happening.
Amazing.
I found out in my senior year of high school as well, after my teacher had told me that story, and my older sister was there too, and she was like, yeah, mom was a great singer too. Mom was always singing. And I remembered my mom singing around the house all the time, but like things I didn't know were that she was in a band in high school, and that like actually was doing something with it. So I don't know if you want to call it whatever it is. I take that with me for the rest of my life as like, okay, this is the reason that I sing. And I also tell that story because those kinds of stories sometimes can like, it's nice, they set you on your path, but you can almost feel like you owe that now to the rest of the world for the rest of your life. And I think it's important to note that like when we take these paths and when certain things happen and certain things steer us in a direction, that we're just now going in that direction, whatever that is. And we have to kind of follow those signs or whatever it is, you know? And that's just like, I get so happy when I think about, for instance, the time that I took off from singing. I took about 4 years off from singing. After I'd lived in Houston, Texas, I went to grad school for a little while at the University of Houston. I didn't graduate, but I took a little time off after that. And about 4 years. And I remember I finally like started singing again in like choirs in North Carolina. I moved around a lot too. I lived in New York City. I moved to Asheville, North Carolina. I started singing in choirs in the opera chorus, did a little church choir stuff, and also then started doing smaller roles in the opera chorus of the Asheville Lyric Opera. And then I knew that singing was coming back into my life after taking this time off. And but I knew somehow in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to end up at the Metropolitan Opera singing on the stage of the Met. I love doing this, but I think there's more to it, and I'm going to see what lies ahead. And just let me know if I'm rambling on too long, if you want to stop me and give me another
No,
direction.
it's great.
It's fine.
No, it's great. You touch on some things that Jen is going to mention in some of her offerings as well. Like I do remember this story now, and I was like, your mother gave her voice to you, and it was just like it means so much. And I mean, yeah, it's very, oh my gosh, right? But what I love about you telling this story is that for a lot of students, they're not sure that what they're working on, no matter what their major is or whatever, they're not sure that it's going to turn out to be anything. They're frustrated. Some of them want it really bad and it's not turning out, right? And so there are so many different things that are going on that they have to contend with. 2020 is no joke. It is taking everything you've got to just to get out of bed every day, right? And so when I think about that, compounded by like, you know, me, I'm giving voice lessons by, you know, and I'm like, get in there, and I'm in the camera and I'm, you know, and all of that on top of understanding that the students are just like, I can't breathe, and it's terrible, and everything is so rough. So to hear you tell your story and to say, I took time for myself, or I listened to what was happening around me, and things work out. Yeah. If you give it some space and some time. And so that's really so rewarding and wonderful to hear you share that very, very personal story. So I do want to move on and let you share some more of your story, but I wanted to switch over and let Jen talk a little bit about about the schooling part, the preparation part. You know, you talk about going and doing a lot of different things, and I am right there with you. I'm right there with you. So it's sort of these opportunities, these constant opportunities. I want to let Jen say a little bit about what she calls what she didn't learn in school. And so here I go with my magic screen sharing situation. Yay. Let's see, and let me know if there's any problem with hearing or anything. Let's hear.
So you love performing. You want to be performing. You want to pursue a professional performing career. Awesome. Go for it. Maybe you're almost done with CRC. Maybe you've just started. Maybe you have plans for a 4-year degree after this. Maybe not. But there are things that you will need. And most of them, I personally did not get in school. So I'm going to tell you those things that you will need to have this performance career that you want. And the first thing is to just embrace the fact that it's not going to be solo performing, most likely, all the time, right? You might get to do that sometimes, but unless you're Long Long or Yo-Yo Ma or one of these 0.001% lucky, random, brilliant, genius talents that comes around once in a generation, unless you're that person, you are going to perform and also you're going to perform and do these other things that are not on stage. Maybe you'll teach, maybe you'll lead a choir, maybe you'll come on the radio one day, which is so fun. Or, you know, it's this fingers in lots of pies thing. That is the way that most people will likely have a successful music career. So as I said, there are components of that that are very necessary that don't really get taught in school for whatever reason. So I'll tell you what I was missing, and you can take from that for what you will. The first thing I was missing is how to be good at business. You're most likely going to be in some sort of business for yourself. And we need help with that, right? You need business skills. You need to be very good at budgeting. Please do not go out there and be one of these stereotypical unorganized, flighty artists, right? Buckle down and learn how to be a business person. How much money do you need? How do you negotiate a contract? That's so huge. What do these terms mean? What do I do if, and unfortunately, this happens more than we like to admit, what do you do if your paycheck just doesn't get handed to you or they try to pay you part of it? How do you negotiate for yourself? How do you advocate for yourself? How do you allocate funds? You need rent. You need all of these obvious things, right? Food, bills. How much do you need to make? And where can you do that in music? Learn about business. Take a business class. Take a budgeting class. Maybe even sit down with an advisor, a financial advisor of some kind. I did that and it changed my whole entire life. So get skills for the non-musical side of it. You will be a business, as I said. You will be your own HR. You will be your own manager. You'll be your own attorney. All of those things. So arm yourselves with skills for that. It's essential. As I said, negotiating a contract, that is a very specific area. So even if you don't have the means or the time even to take a business class, just go download some contracts online. Ask other professionals, hey, can I see what this is worded like? What do you do to protect yourself? How do you get things in writing? How do I negotiate what I'm worth? And that rate is going to change. If you're a college student looking to gain experience, that's one area, and you go from there. So ask around, ask people, can I look at your paperwork? Please guide me. And then another big area that I think that we all need help with, because it's hard and it's uncomfortable, but no one seems to guide us in it, is how do you market yourself? How do you toot your own horn in the right way, a professional way, not in an arrogant way, but you do have to get out there. It's an extremely competitive market. It's a saturated market, especially with YouTube, GarageBand, all of these ways that anyone can make product at home and then put it on some online platform at home. So you need to have some sort of way to be out there in it, right? You need a website. You need content for the website, professional content for the website, recordings, photos, start putting together a bio, save everything you do. I thought my piece was ending there. It wasn't. Slight heart attack. But save everything you do and have a very clear dossier. These sorts of things. It's so important. Get on Twitter and talk to anyone related to music or your interests that you possibly can. These sorts of things are so helpful and so essential. So please do them.
Can I jump in on that?
Go right ahead,
Would you
Kevin.
mind if I
Yes.
followed up? There are a couple things that Jen mentioned that I just want to sort of recap here. The first thing is be nice to everybody that you come across in your life, that you work with. Like Jen said, you are a business. You know, if you're in music and you want to perform, that's great, but you are a business. You're going to be doing a lot of different things. It's a competitive market. It's a saturated market. Everybody knows somebody. Be nice to everybody. Just do it. Just be a nice person now. If you haven't until now, start today. That's one. Two is, don't let anybody tell you you can't do anything. Please, please. I mean, this is such a big deal. This is something that's resonated with me my entire life, from undergrad to grad school. There's so many people that I've had, professionals, academics in school, and people have said to me, you have to really want this if you want to do this. If you don't really want this, you need to think about what you're doing and maybe take a different career path. No, man. There are a lot of different options. Jen's not kidding. Unless you're Long Long or Yo-Yo Ma or Renee Fleming, you're not going to have that kind of solo career where you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year performing on the stage in the Metropolitan Opera. That is for a very certain tier. That is just the reality of any industry. That's just how that
math.
Works. Right. Learn your business skills. If you are a performer and you love to perform, don't stop performing. I still perform. It's not all that I do, but I still love to perform. I still love to get up on the stage in front of people. Like I said, I knew I wasn't going to end up at the Met. I kind of got there myself. If you're not there yet, that's okay. Follow that dream for a little while and see where it takes you. Because at some point in your life, you're going to say, ooh, that's pretty too. I maybe want to try that. You know what I mean? That's okay. And until you get to that point, then keep doing what you're doing and follow that dream and be strong and work hard, you know, and then do all those things that Jen said, because I wish I had those. I wish I had a ton. I wish people would have made me take a business. They didn't make me take a business class, so I didn't. My college roommate did.
Well, CRC has an entrepreneurial certificate, so you can get those skills at CRC in the music department, and there are a number of courses that can help you on that career. And on that front, the thing, you know, see, I do a lot of things, you do a lot of things, and one of those things is not just performing, it's being on the radio every day. And so I wanted to ask Mun or Lauren to go ahead and ask questions from a point of view that I don't have any clue about, but that of radio and television and film and that department.
So Kevin, so can you tell us a little bit about your journey of how you got into radio? I think you kind of said you started off like doing weekend shows, I believe, but can you tell us about your journey and how you got to Cap Radio and all that?
Yeah, well, I got lucky, really, in a way. I've always been super enthusiastic about music. You know, again, I'm a performer, but I always kind of like look at myself as a promoter too. I'm always enthusiastic about the things going on. I like to be an ambassador for the community. And I had a friend of mine who worked at WUOT in Knoxville, a small NPR affiliate, but it was a dual platform where they had classical music and jazz, and we also had news. It was just a tiny station related to the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And they had somebody who was leaving the station, and she called me up and said, I think you would be perfect for this job, please come and interview, please come and audition, and let's hear what you're like on the radio. So I did that. I went in, and sure enough, I got a weekend morning gig on the radio from 6 to 8 a.m. I've been working at 6 a.m. ever since. That was like 7 years ago. I need normal hours. But neither here nor there. And so I was doing classical, and I was doing classical music, and I was talking about classical music suddenly on the radio. This was so exciting. I was like, how have I missed this up until now? How did it, things just started rolling along at WUOT. I thought things were going pretty well. The news director at WUOT really liked how I sounded on the radio on the weekends and wanted to give me more airtime during the week. So he started having me fill in as the local host for Morning Edition. If anybody listens to NPR, they have two flagship shows, Morning Edition and All Things Considered. And they have their national hosts, and then every local market has a local host. And so I was doing that. I was writing minute-long newscasts. And let me tell you something, when you are not a journalist and you have no skills in that area, you're like, I am going to break Knoxville, Tennessee. It's going to fall apart, and it's going to be my fault. It did not happen. It's still going. And I say, maybe even a little better for it. No, probably not. But I was having a great time doing that. Then the Morning Edition host ended up leaving. And so I was filling in a lot more, but then suddenly there was this opening at the radio station. I was like, I want to do this. But again, as I mentioned, I had no real journalistic skills. And while I think maybe they felt like I was in contention for it and they could have taught me some of the things they needed to teach me, they ended up not going in that direction. And that was fine. I mean, I was a little crushed at the time because I wanted a full-time job on the radio. I was also managing a restaurant at the time. I was the general manager of a restaurant in Knoxville. And so I was working late nights and early mornings, and I was wiped out, and I knew that radio is where I wanted to be. And it didn't happen. So then I started looking for jobs elsewhere, and a position at Capital Public Radio came up in Sacramento, something that, place, obviously I'd heard of Sacramento, but Cap Radio, I had no idea what that was. And their job description was, we want a host who's going to be engaging and dynamic and loves to talk about music and is going to do it in a conversational way. Because I don't know how long anybody's been listening to classical music radio. That was Mozart's Violin Concerto number 5. Mozart Perlman, not the violin. And that is not the way I like to talk about music. I mean, maybe I get a little bit more of a radio voice sometimes, but I wanted to be conversational. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to make it, buzzword alert, accessible, I guess, and make it something that everybody could kind of say, okay, I can listen to this. Let me tell you a story about the composer. Let me let you know that these people were once human also, that they're not, in fact, gods or demigods sent from above. They were just really talented human beings living in the world just like the rest of us, Right. And then, so that led me to Cap Radio, and I ended up getting that job, which was really, really cool. I remember I showed the job posting to my wife. I was like because I had to wake up early the next day. So I think I was in bed at like 8:30, and I ran downstairs and I was like, check out this job. And she was like, we're moving to Sacramento. And I was like, I just found this job description. We're not going anywhere yet. Sure enough, here we are 4 years later in Sacramento, California. You couldn't have been more
Amazing.
Right. Best decision I've ever made. I love working at Cap Radio. I think it's an awesome place. I love the work we're doing there too on the classical music side, just on the music station in general.
If I could jump in with a question. So much of what's already been discussed really does parallel a lot of what happens in filmmaking, TV, radio, like the industries are very similar, that, you can't count on that you're going to be the next fill in the blank for the name of who you want to be. And so what kind of advice would you give, excuse me, to students about, what Omari was talking about earlier, kind of taking every opportunity, getting used to those irregular hours, because that is definitely on the media side of the house, that you have to be willing to take overnight shifts and early morning and whatever. And then also the idea of rejection and how to get up and keep moving forward, because sometimes the first time you get told no, some people just go, well, okay, I guess that's it. This just isn't for me anymore, but it could be.
Yeah, I mean, on the rejection note, I mean that really, that at the end of the day, I can say anything I want to say. That's up to you. If you get rejected and you say, well, that's I guess I don't want to do it, you'll find something else. I mean, but my point though, or what I think is that if you really do love something, like if you're a singer, and I've been told no at so many auditions, there was a point that I was like, okay, I'm good. I don't super want to do this and go to these auditions anymore. And so I'll just meet friends and we'll start a thing and I'll just sing all the time whenever I want. And that'll be great. And so that's how you solve that problem. But if you truly love something enough and somebody tells you no, no is just a word and no is a preference for somebody. So they're looking at you and they're saying, you're not the person for us. And honestly, they're probably doing you a favor, because then you'll move on and find who you are the person for. And you'll find out that they are also the organization or the people for you. So no is just a word. Take it as it is, learn from it, grow. Let's all just kind of listen to the word no and be like, ask ourselves, well, why? Ask them, why not? Ask yourself, why not? What did I maybe do in that audition or whatever it was, or that interview, that didn't resonate with this person? Those, you have to be critical about these things. You can't get down on yourself. You can't be hard on yourself, because you are going to be told no. Has anybody here ever been told yes all the time? Guys, no? Right, exactly. So that's, so it's going to happen. And what was the other part of the question, Lauren? Sorry.
I was also asking about getting used to those irregular hours. Working in media is not really a 9 to 5 kind of a gig. You gotta.
Yeah. Well, you gotta pay dues, right? Like when you're getting into a job, they're not just gonna give you the premier thing. I've been doing the 6 a.m. shift. When I was doing the morning edition backup hosting, I mean, I was getting to work at 3:30 in the morning. Like, it was so early, right? I mean, as far as getting used to the irregular hours, you just, I don't know really what to say about that, other than, again, if you love it, you just kind of do it. And I've been doing 6 in the morning or earlier for 7 years, and I'm like maybe ready to not be doing it anymore. But
Kevin, am I hearing a bit of a sacrifice in that? Like, you say you've got to do it. I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning, you say it's very early. I say it's very late. But the idea is that you have to, there seems to be some kind of element of sacrifice of something else in order to do this thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go out in the middle of the week. You can't go out with your friends really until 11 o'clock or midnight or whatever it is. I mean, I go to bed as it is at 9 o'clock every night, or I try to. Sometimes it's 10 o'clock. I mean, you do what you have to do, or you just don't get the sleep, and so it's one or the other, and you got to figure it out. But yeah, there's always going to be sacrifice involved. It's in that sense, it's not easy. But one of the things that I always say, though, especially about the job, is that I wouldn't do this for just anything. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 in the morning because I love what I do so much, because I love the radio business, because I love coming to work and talking to my audience and then crafting a playlist for the next day. There's just, there are so many things that go into it that keep me waking up and keep me getting to work. And I'll have I've only been late once in 7 years, and that was back in Knoxville, and it was because I couldn't get in the door. So, I mean,
hey, that's good. That's
my key fob, so I had to go home.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. Well, sorry, go ahead, man.
Oh, just one more. How would you say Capital Radio is different from other FM stations? So that's part one of the question. And then the other question was about funding. How do you guys get funding?
Well, I'll answer funding real quick because it's easy enough to do. We're in the middle of a fund drive right now. And over half of our operational budget comes from our members and listeners. So it is the individual person who loves to listen to public radio, loves to listen to classical music, or our NPR affiliate, because Cap Radio is 2 stations. We have our news station, which is the NPR affiliate. And then we have our classical and jazz station, which is just an entity in and of itself. And so we do 2 separate fund drives every season, one for the news station and then one for the music station. So that's where we get the bulk of our funding. The rest is, you know, corporate grants, foundational grants. We have underwriters in the community who want advertising, but it's not the like 1-800-655-34 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the, we're not going to kill you. It's all dry and read on air. You get 15-second spots. Because the point of public radio and what we do is, and this is sort of transitioning into your other question, Mun, the point of public radio and what we do, it's about the radio, it's about the content. I think what separates public radio from commercial radio is that our primary focus is on the content, that the content is engaging, that the content is something. We're community driven, right? We're a nonprofit organization, so we're community driven. And so what we do is for the community. Like I said, 50% of the funding comes from members and our listeners and our audience. Well, then we better show up for them. And so that's the reason for how we sort of situate the advertising during the programming. On the news side, we make sure that, you know, journalistic integrity is at the forefront, and that our guys are out in the field doing hard work. And we had, we had, you know, protests a couple months ago. I remember going in the Slack channel at 1 o'clock in the morning, because I live in Midtown Sacramento, going to the Slack channel at 1 o'clock in the morning and seeing people live, you know, like tweeting what's going on. They're typing in the Slack channel live what's happening. And it was just, I mean, it was an amazing sight to behold. This is the kind of work that these people do. And I'm so grateful to be able to work with them. And then on the music side, we want to do great things with classical music. There aren't a whole lot of places you can go to get classical music in this community, so we provide it. There aren't a whole lot of places you can go to get jazz in this community, so we provide it. Especially now during quarantine, you can't go and see a concert anywhere. So we are doing what we can to bring it to as many people as we possibly can. Again, community driven. That's the main difference.
How close are you to one of those old school models where I can call in and say, hey, would you play me some of that Mozart? Like,
yeah, only if you call up and start with, hey, long time listener, first time caller. I really want to hear Mozart's Rondo for piano and orchestra. I love that piece. I'm a New Yorker. Sorry, that's how radio goes in New York.
That's great. No, that's a very good Sacramento accent, I think, actually. Wonderful. Well, you obviously have a sense of humor, and you're all over the place in terms of like your musical tastes and things like that. But I did want to give the audience a chance to actually hear you do what you do on that front in one of our more casual settings. You and I have worked together on a program called Rogue Music Project, and we did a couple of cabarets. And one of these cabarets, we were rehearsing, and you sent over this great video of you preparing this piece that This Is the Moment from Jekyll and Hyde by Frank Wildlife. This is part of the song. It's really sort of just the end of it. And you'll just hear Kevin and Jennifer Reason, our other panelists, working on the piece before performance. It's known for its sort of very bravura vocal sounds of the baritone as it rises and makes a transition up a half step at the end here. So this is a little bit of Kevin singing This Is the Moment. I love it. I love
Love
and you
that.
can hear soprano Carrie Hennessy in the background. Just very, very super excited about about your singing. That is some high singing, let me tell you. That's we call that the baritone, baritone range, right?
Right. Well, he might be a tenor. That's a story for a different day.
That's another story. He might be tenor, and we might make him sing tenor when we do stuff together because I don't want to sing it.
Mario won't do it, so he makes that. I'm like, okay, I guess. Yeah.
It's spectacular. It's wonderful. I have another video from Jen speaking about myths of careers. And one of the things that she talks about, just sort of the things that I think you mentioned it, people telling you, no, you can't do this or whatever, or there are these individual paths. I think maybe I'll just show her video and then let you respond to that too.
Sure.
And then we've got a little bit more of her performing as well. So actually I'm gonna go back into.
So there's a fact of life, and that is that 97%, and that's conservatively a low number, 97%, I would say, of people that study music are not going to be solo professional performers. They're not going to go on to an exclusive or prestigious conservatory, and that is just not going to be how life unfolds. Does that mean you will not have a career in music? No, that does not mean anything of the kind, although people love to say that, right? There's this myth that needs to be debunked that unless you go to a conservatory, you will not have a legitimate career. And that is just a lie. It's a lie. And we need to dispel that and empower ourselves to say, I may not have the means to go to a conservatory. I may not have the opportunity. Maybe you come from circumstances where you have to work. I did as well. So, and I am sitting here with more music in my life than I possibly know what to do with. And to be frank, and making more money at music and meeting with more success in music than I ever did with my attempts at a day job or one of these safe things, so it can be done. Don't ever buy into the lie that unless you're at Juilliard, you are not actualizing yourself, because if you are a self-starter, if you're passionate, if you chase after your dreams and you study and you practice, and if you don't see the opportunity in front of you, you're bold and strong enough to create it for yourself, you can have a career in music. And that is the truth.
That is, in fact, the truth. Do you have, and I would ask this of Mun and Lauren too, just all of you together, about that transition in building a career, especially one that ends up in being in radio and television. What kinds of things, not necessarily what you had to prepare you, because I think we've discussed that there's a lot of serendipity, it's a lot of like personal grit and determination for yourself to get there. What kinds of things do you wish you might have had that weren't there in your either education or in your experience that you're training now to, I don't know, you're catching up on anything? What kind of technical stuff do you wish you'd known, just for, at least for this particular part of your career, in terms of being on the radio?
Yeah, I mean, okay. Yeah, there are so many things. I mean, first of all, in education in general, I do wish that I would have been made to take a business class. I mean, I think that would have been so important, because they don't teach you how to market. You're your personal brand. Even if you're on the radio and you work for a particular radio station like Cap Radio, it's fairly well known in the community. I'm still a brand. I'm still a personality. I'm still something of an influencer in that respect, because I have that window. I have that time on the air, right? I wish that so anyway, like business and marketing and that kind of thing. I wish that they would just come to us with that while we're in school. The other thing is if you're in a radio, if you're taking radio on as your career, crafting stories, writing, narrative, so important. I wasn't an English major. I was a music major, so I can talk about classical music on the air, but if you want to be engaging on the radio, again, right, like I said, it's about content. It's about crafting content. It's about crafting stories and being engaging. Those are things that I need to know how to do. Interviewing people like Omari, what you're doing, you're fantastic at this. That's a skill you need in radio. Yeah, that's a skill you need in radio, because you're going to talk to artists, and then of course you need the musical knowledge as well, because you need to know how to speak their language. So those are really important things. As far as the technical aspects, I love the technical aspects that I've learned along the way, certain things about just how to work a soundboard. Wow, I had no idea how to do that when I started in radio. I'm an opera singer. I don't need any microphones or any acoustical enhancements. I have
no amplification.
No, and that's, classical musicians, they don't teach us how to do that stuff. I wish I had some sound engineering back in school too, so I could do that now. But I love crafting. I love producing features and stories. I do a lot of my own editing. My boss at the radio station, Paul Conley, is a fantastic editor and sound guy and mixer. And so he polishes a lot of stuff, but he taught me how to do a lot of this. So I feel very confident now getting into my DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, like Adobe Audition, and crafting things together. And I'm no composer. I'm not going to write a book. So that's kind of my storytelling little venue right there, where I can put some music and that interview that I've had, and find those cool little sound bites and craft a fun story for people. And I love doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, radio's really, I mean, my writing has gotten so much better since I've been in radio, only because I've had to. I write for the blog all the time. Omari mentioned I wrote an article for the Gateway magazine for Mondavi. And I write all the time now, and I love it. And I, frankly, you write on the fly, even if it's not written down. I'm writing on the fly when I'm on air, because I have to tell a story. Yeah.
Mon, I was thinking about, Kevin sort of describes this sort of whole person, right? I think between him and Jen, I hear this sort of whole person. You're not just your major. I'm not just a blah, blah major. I'm a blah, blah, I'm a person who is interested in many, many things, and I'm studying this one thing. So say you've got some people watching right now who are interested in radio, and they want to do something like what Kevin's doing. What kinds of, you do some sound stuff at the school. What kind of stuff are you teaching that sort of is the nexus point for Kevin?
So I feel like I'm kind of like a bridge between the music department and then their RTVF department, and kind of like journalism a little bit. So in my audio class, I actually have them learn a little bit about some music, like some, the different levels of music, and then just a little bit, we touch on that, and I have them doing a mashup, which is kind of fun. Everyone loves doing that. And then on the radio classes, we focus on voice and, radio and everything like that. And then I also collaborate with the nutrition department. So we have a nutrition professor here. She does a 21-day, I believe it's a kickstart, where they don't eat any meat or any of that stuff. And so I have my radio students interview one of her students, and then we're compiling all those. So we're actually about to launch a podcast. We have like 40 episodes. I just have to edit them, but they're all interviewed by different students and different guests. We've done this 21-day Kickstart, which is fantastic. So that's kind of in the process. So I guess I have my hands in like a lot of different places within.
So that overlaps with what we did last week. We had Dr. Lisa Beebe, who gave us a talk on podcasts, very specifically about that and how she uses them for her courses and things like that. And so I just find that it's interesting that, throughout, this is arts, media, and entertainment, this is our area, there are these connecting points. So I hear from Kevin and Jen that if you're going to study the one thing, as Jen was saying, you've got to be good at that skill, that particular thing, but don't think that all those other areas aren't going to come into play. And if you have some interest in there, or maybe some talent, take a course in it, study it, try to see how that can supplement what it is you're working on. That's really, really great. Wonderful. I want to. We're coming up on the technical hour. We're going to go a little longer than our hour today, but I wanted to go and give Jen a chance to share some of her performance as well, a chance to hear her do some performing, and and I think she's got one final thing that she wanted to say in conclusion to our listeners today. So I wanted to share some of that music, and then I'll come back to you, Kevin, to wrap things up as we talk about just what things you might want to leave for our students. So this is a piece that Jennifer shares with us, passage in two parts for violin and piano. You'll see her performing here. You'll see she's using her iPad to play her music, very contemporary, right? And you'll see it's very sleek, well put together short film of performance of a new piece. Of course, from 2008, we still consider that very new music. So that was a really cool example of some work by that Jen Reason was obviously playing with the violinist. And I was struck by, as we were listening to it, we've got one more little video of hers as we sort of conclude, but I was struck by the quality of the performances, right? And how when we talk about careers in music, as Kevin was saying earlier, things can be often very myopic from our instructor's point of view. You're going to do this or you can't do it at all. Either you do this or you do that, and that's it. Whereas in this example, we get a very, very clear depiction of how you can be excellent in many, many things, and enjoy yourself doing a lot of different things, not having to make the choice that someone else says you have to make. I'm thinking that if she had not honed her craft, if you, Kevin, if you had not honed your craft as a singer, performer, player, and then if you hadn't opened the door to possibility, where would you be? You would not have these incredible experiences you're having now. She would be, maybe be on the radio, but maybe you wouldn't be performing and singing, having a great time. She would maybe be on the radio, but then she wouldn't have this wonderful opportunity with this world premiere, playing the piano with these people, these wonderful artists, right? So how incredible there's so many possibilities. And I love that about you both, having you here to talk about these careers, how you're able to really expand upon them. So what else would you like us to know as we bring our conversation to a close? What things might you say to our students that might provide them with some kind of encouragement? A lot of the students are kind of just getting started in the world of music. So what might you say?
Well, you actually, you a little bit took the words out of my mouth just a minute ago. One of the things, because I wrote things down and I was like, he said it. Omari. No, be specific about where you are, create goals, and work hard. It's really, really important. Just and even if I feel like, I'm not getting anywhere, this is so frustrating. Yes, it is. It's going to be that. Please keep going. Trust me on this one. I promise you that is a real truth. Keep going. Do not stop, and be open to the change. Be open to different things. Be open to different ideas. Research all of the possibilities that are actually out there in music. It's not just teaching and performing. I am on the radio. I've been at Cap Radio for 4 years. I started as the morning classical host. I then became the content coordinator, which is the guy who schedules all the music. I'm the programmer on the radio station, and now I'm the classical music director. And I just keep going, and it's because I do love my job, and I do work hard, and I show up every day ready to go. Right. So those are, and I have set those specific goals, and I've achieved those specific goals, but I'm still always open to what's out there, right? And then the other thing is so important, and I only say this because I've learned this from experience. Do not be proud. Ask for help. Ask questions. Talk to the people who know more than you. Talk to the people who know more about a specific subject than you do. Ask questions. And ask so-and-so how to get to that place, and ask so-and-so how to go there, or how do you do that? How can I take a look? Be curious, be inquisitive, ask questions, ask for help when you don't know. It's just so important, because people are going to be they're always going to be there for you. They're always going to open their doors to you. Some might not. I don't know, but then they weren't the right person to ask. Ask somebody else. Those are the big things that I would say are really important.
I love it. I have one final ask, and Lauren and Mun, if you have a question, comment you'd like to make, I'd appreciate it. But I get really beggy at the end of our little conversations on Fridays. And so I'm wondering if there isn't already a connection that we have with Capital Public Radio. How can our students and our program connect with you over there? Or not necessarily there, but with you as an artist in the industry?
In what way? Just to clarify.
I mean, like, I don't know. Do our students ever take a tour of the studio, or have they, or is there a way for them to get a little insight about the things you spoke about today?
I was just going to ask about internship opportunities at Capital Public Radio, since our internship coordinator is not with us anymore. Can take notes.
Yeah, that's actually really good. So let's talk about this. These are all possibilities. Obviously, we're not giving tours of the radio station right now because that's not an option.
Well, yeah, that's
right. Like, I'm one of the few people who get to go in every day.
Oh, but, come on, where's the edge? No.
You're not 6 feet apart, everybody. Follow me. Yeah, I think that's great, and I think that really contact me. You can find me on the website capradio.org. Look at the bios. Contact me, Omari, and just call me. That's fine. We'll make it happen. I think internships are something that we've been talking about. We've been talking about it for a long time, and we haven't made it happen. And I would love for a reason to make it happen, because we used to do it. And we're posting a job soon for fill-in hosts, and it's maybe somebody who is
because I've got so much time.
Yeah, somebody who's interested, who maybe hasn't had experience. You're more than welcome to apply, and we'll talk to you. And we're willing to train the right people for that kind of thing. We do have, and people are interested in journalism. We do have internships on a regular basis on the news side, and also in marketing and development and things like that. We just haven't done it a whole lot on the music side. We have such a small, tiny little staff at the music station, you know? So putting all those things together are tough, but it's a doable thing, and it's something that we really want to do. So we'd be super interested in working. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, we're not, of course, trying to nail you down with anything, but the main thing is that the conversation is there, and that our students know, our community knows that, as you said, it's a community-driven station. And we love the fact that you are, I mean, we don't show up to your house or anything like that, but you're an accessible person. And it's really great that that you are such, because it's good for people to know that you're a human being, like you said, right? You're a person who's after their dream and living it and loving it, and that's, I think, rewarding. You don't have to put on a mask and become somebody else. Well, you do have in 2020 to wear a mask.
You definitely wear that mask, everybody. But no, that's part of the radio thing too. Again, I joked about classical music radio and even public radio for a long time. We had these radio voices, and it was very serious and very solemn. But across the industry now, it's really about being conversational and being yourself, and that's the fun. That's the fun of radio. I love getting to just tell stories as myself.
I love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Mun or Lauren, did you have anything to say? I was going to let Jen have a final word here too, but did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
I just wanted to say thank you, Kevin. And I think that this is a great opportunity to see that there are all these touch points between really kind of everything art, media, and entertainment, right? That all these different pieces come together, and that, students, get out. Once we get back on campus, get out and meet each other, because the people that are on this call right now are going to be people that you're going to work with maybe one day. So
that's a really great point, Lauren. Actually, another point to bring up is, for a long time I called myself a singer. I'm not a singer. I'm a whole lot of different things, and so are you out there. If you play the cello, you're not a cellist. You're a musician, but you're a musician who does so much more. So don't box yourself into that thing that you think defines you, because it doesn't, because there's a lot that we do.
I love it.
Yeah, Kevin, thanks so much for your time. I feel like your insight was really helpful for everybody, like us, the students. Like, I think everyone has something to take away. Like, even, talking about the breadth of you're not just like this, you're a lot of different things, right? One thing doesn't make you. I think that was really vital information for everybody. So thank you.
Cool.
Awesome. So I'm going to let Jen say a few things here, and then I will say one final goodbye to let you know about next week's event that we have for CRC.
So I have one more piece of advice for you that was really a revolutionary concept to me. Maybe it's old news to you and you already figured this out, but here it is. This kind of rocked my world. And it was the idea that performance is a skill, and performance is a skill that needs to be practiced just like anything else. Your scales, your arpeggios, your technique, your memorization of your repertoire, whatever it is, performance is a practice. You need to get good at the art of performing, the art of being looked at, the art of being comfortable on stage. And the only way to do that is to do it again and again and again. Every single opportunity you have to perform, take it. If you want to get used to being public, go play in a courtyard, play in the stairwell. Literally, any opportunity you can to build those performance muscles and make it a comfortable thing, practice it. Practice it as often as you can. 4 minutes, perfect. Can you imagine? Sorry, audience, I was talking to the students. And you know, if you are not finding that you have enough performance opportunities, create them. Found a group. Get some friends together that are like-minded and have similar goals and say, hey, let's be an ensemble and let's create our own performance opportunities. And then call around and say, who has recital series that I could get on? Is anyone having student showcases at sister schools? These sorts of things. You take a class on how to found a nonprofit so people can give tax-deductible donations to you. Create your opportunities. Practice performing. Those are the biggest gems I can give you. And good luck. Go get them.
So we're super grateful for her for preparing these videos. Thank you so much to Jennifer Reason for doing that and preparing those. We really appreciate it. I want to thank you so much, Kevin Doherty, for being here with us today and being our special guest. You're spectacular, you're a friend, and you are extremely important to our community. So we thank you so much for being with us here today on Friday for CRC Music in the Studio. And we wanted to quickly tell everyone, I will stop this share and we can put your faces back on the screen for a second, but I wanted to let people know about next week that we have this performance called Raise Your Voice. It's next Friday at noon, same time. Raise Your Voice is our open mic, our virtual open mic, and we had an incredible open mic last few weeks ago. And we do these in cycles. We have 2 special guests, and then we do open mic, and then we have a student spotlight. And so our open mic was really awesome. If you're interested in that, go to CRC website /music. And then on each of these events, there's a sign-up sheet. You can click right in there, and then you could submit your video, which we will play as part of a playlist for our open mic. I think we had 1 actual live event, but that was sort of serendipitous. It wasn't planned that way. But we really, really do wish you all a really wonderful weekend and a week, and hope to see you back at that event next week. Thank you so much, Kevin. Really.
Thanks for having me. Seriously.
Awesome.
Great time.
Yeah, really. Thank you for the insight. And that was really great. Really wonderful end of our week. I get pumped after we have these things on Friday. So if you have, sorry, Kevin, do you have a website or anything? Where can we find you?
Yeah, well, definitely check out roguemusicproject.com, because that's, you know, kind of what Jen was talking about. We've alluded to it too. And that's the group that Omari, Jen, my wife, Sarah, Carrie Hennessy, we got together and we did that exact thing that Jen was talking about. And I have a website, kevinricharddoherty.com. But if you want to just make it easy, you can go to capradio.org and find me there.
And every morning, it's every week morning.
Every weekday morning from 6 to 10 on the radio. And I have a new show on Saturday evenings. This is really important because this actually is a new music, a contemporary classical show at 6 p.m. from 6 to 8 on Saturday evenings. And that's a really
news.
Cool
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it just started.
Awesome.
Just started like 2 weeks ago. So right now we're calling it Saturdays at 6. I don't super like the name, but it tells you where it is. We're going to come up with a new name a little bit later on. But my personal passion is new music, so I'm excited to be able to share it.
I love it. We have someone in here saying it's a great show in the panel discussion. Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to that. We will follow you. I will share it with our students in our community as well. Thank you so much, Lauren Wagner and Mun Kang from RTVF, for being here and supporting. And we appreciate all your students being out there. Everyone, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week for CRC Music, Raise Your Voice. Take care. Thank you.